Okay, so would you say you're a risk taker? Or you're one of those people that you're willing to jump out, try something new any day, every day? Yes? No? Well, we live in the age when, you almost feel like you're afraid to take a risk to some degree, but don't be. Don't be afraid to take risks because we don't want to live in fear, but at the same time, you don't want to live trapped in your house. So to some degree, we're going to have to come to terms with the idea that we have to accept some risk. I say all this not because I'm talking about the COVID-19 virus this morning. I'm saying all this because I'm jumping out this morning and taking a risk on something different. I've been using a particular program to do our live streams here on Facebook. And this morning, I have a new program, a different camera. So it's risky. So if I'm kind of tinted red today, it may be that because I've got the blood pressures going a little bit higher because you're like, okay, I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to, have a problem with this. I just want it to go smooth and easy. But sometimes it's good. If you talk to sociologists, psychiatrists, and I think people that just are attuned to things, they will tell you that if you fall into a routine and you do the same thing every day the same way, you're probably not helping yourself. You're probably hurting yourself. It's good to expand the mind, exercise the muscle that's inside your skull and try things differently. Don't drive the same way to work every day. Don't get up and pick the same coffee. Vary it up a little bit. It's good for you. So even in this age in which you may be paralyzed by looking at numbers or overreacting to something that's happening, and maybe it's not overreacting, maybe it's the appropriate amount of reaction based on what's happening. You need to, again, though, just vary up your routine for your own well-being. Good morning, everybody. I'm Dan Gresham. Now that I've given you the mantra of the day, we can join the update in progress. This is Dan's at-home update. We have been doing this, I don't know what now, for seems like 5, 6, 7, 8 months, not quite that long, but for long enough to learn that our ambition and goal here is to give you the headlines that you may have missed this morning, but do it in a much more casual fashion. Instead of a newscast where we're surrounded with lights and people, we do have lights in here. But it's just one of those things that we want to make it something that's approachable, something that you can talk about, something you can ask questions about, comments, and as we say, create our own community, which we do by inviting you to comment if you want to. Just give us a shout out, say, hey, I'm watching, I'm here too, or if you have a question about something that's going on in our community, you can certainly do that as well. Speaking of which, let's see who is up this morning. As we get things going. And, I'm going to have to figure out exactly. Oh, here we go. How about this one? Joel Wiggins is up this morning. Says, sup, Dan. Marie Jackson is up this morning. Hi, Darlene. Also, Teresa is up this morning. B. Sims, good morning to you. I see that Mindy Cummings is up this morning. Kelly Tidwell, good morning to you, Kelly. Hi, Linda Stevenson. How's your day going so far? Also, Jeannie Foster over in Viter is up with us this morning, as is Christy Freeman. Sherry Pierce Barnett says, I'm going out to take my walk, Dan. Have a great day. Will you go out and take that walk? Because I'm a firm believer that the key to life is movement, that those who are sedentary, those who sit, that's when it becomes an issue in life. I always talk about, I love my dad to death, and he is in his upper 80s these days, and it's still going, still blowing. The guy, but I think the secret has been he never stopped. It was a guy who played golf every day until just probably a year ago. And, but kept the movement going, didn't come home, didn't sit in the chair, didn't decide, okay, I'm retired, I'm not going to do anything now. I'm just going to sit here. And I'm not sure that's not the key to life. All right, so let's jump in. And again, I'm going to ask you a favor this morning. If you're watching, if you will just hit us with a like, we'd appreciate it. Just lets us know that you're there and that we can, again, share it with corporate powers that be and let them know that there are folks watching as well. Let's see if we can figure this out together this morning. We'll start off, as always, by going to kfdm.com. That is our first stop on the internet. We try as hard as we can to make sure that the latest information is right here at your fingertips 24 hours a day. And I don't talk about it enough probably, but to mention that, if you see new, you can click on that. Here's a new one that just, in fact, because I was there early this morning, I did the 4:30 to 7 o'clock version of the morning show. And if you haven't figured it out yet, Jillian Fertig and I are switching out places so that on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'm in early, and she works the 7 to 9 on KBTV Fox 4. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we reverse that. She comes and does the early show. We're both there all the time, but then I do the late show. But this was not part of our broadcast this morning, but it's been added since, that FEMA is urging homeowners to buy flood insurance with peak hurricane season still a few weeks away. And anyone who lives in Southeast Texas realizes that it does not take a hurricane to become a problem when you're talking about flooding. I mean, it can simply be a rain event that, can leave you wishing that you had flood insurance if you don't already. And the thing to remember, if you've never bought flood insurance, is it's not instantaneous. It's not like, okay, here's my premium, and it goes into effect. You've got 30 days once you've paid the premium before it actually goes into effect. And you'll see a lot of times when it's something from FEMA or NOAA, when they talk about buying flood insurance, it's about flood plains and, where you live, how many, blah, blah, blah. But again, it just seems like a no-brainer after what we saw with Imelda that a lot of people would probably go, hey, you know what? I think I'll give this a try. So again, that's being urged to folks there this morning. That is on our KFDM page. So you can certainly go and check on that. Also this morning on the KFDM page, you can check out a couple of stories that I think are very important to us. Let me cycle back down, and that would be the story concerning, and I'm looking for it, I'll be honest with you, as I said, I've always tried to be as transparent as possible. And when I'm using a new program, it takes me a few minutes to find it, and I'm not seeing the story. But I do want you to know this morning that ICUs in Jefferson County at the 3 hospitals, at least at last report, they were at max capacity. That's 86 beds. And those 86 beds were completely full this morning. So we are at capacity. Doesn't mean there aren't others. Doesn't mean that they can't make room. But as far as, I guess, normal use ICU, they're at max capacity at this point. Also, we had some team coverage on the reaction from the governor, who was lashing out at elected officials, talking about if they would take care of enforcing his current mandates and orders, that they wouldn't have to ask for stay at home. And I think it is the issue that some of these, and not necessarily Southeast Texas judge and or mayors, but those in other parts of Texas, maybe in Austin, also in Bexar County, maybe even in Houston, so concerned about the surge in numbers that they're talking about wanting to do stay-at-home orders. And I think that makes a lot of people, understandably, very nervous. The prospect of shutting down anything after what we've been through makes a lot of people nervous. And again, it's understandable why that would be the case. You can go and read the comments from local county judges and how they responded to the governor's reaction that they need to be doing more. He told them that they need to get more involved in what's happening. The response from County Judge Wayne McDaniel in Hardin County was, I don't disagree with the fact that, what you've done is probably a good idea with the mask mandate, but at the same time, he feels like maybe his county or he and other elected officials in the state of Texas should have more of an input, and there should be better communication. between their offices and the governor's office. Also, we're finding out now about back-to-school plans. The Texas Education TEA agency is coming out with what they're suggesting for back-to-school plans. Is it possible to have students in classrooms with 6 feet of distance? Because that is one of the suggestions. If you go through and you read what they're proposing, it includes things like masks to be worn by parents, students, teachers, staff. But it's also talking about this idea of keeping kids 6 feet apart. Now, that may happen and I'm not even sure that's possible, in high school. But to do that in kindergarten or first grade, is that doable? Is that something that's possible to do? Now, you can see it's a rather lengthy report. It goes into the fact that school districts will offer in-class and online options for parents. They can choose. But once you choose, it's 6 weeks. You can't say a weekend, oh, my child is not comfortable being in the classroom, I want to go online. And you can't do the other either. Once you choose one, you're committed for that 6-week period. A lot of teachers around the country are concerned, that if they don't have in-class learning, that some students will be falling further behind. Others are also expressing the fact that they're not sure, that they feel comfortable being in a classroom with, 60, not 60 obviously in one classroom, but let's say 20, 25 in a classroom with all of these kids yelling, screaming, talking, expelling. And again, while they may not get sick, it doesn't mean that they don't pass it along to someone else. Anyway, you can see it's a very, very lengthy suggestions and practices, gets into hygiene and everything else. But you can go and read it all and see what some of the suggestions are from the Texas Education Agency about back to school in classrooms. And if you didn't see it, the president yesterday very adamant that the federal government wants classrooms open this fall. How do you feel about that? Whether you're a parent or a grandparent or just a taxpayer, good idea or bad idea? Too early to tell or time to start planning? You can let us know what you're thinking again in the comments section today. And we don't necessarily have a chance to read every single comment, but we certainly will make an attempt to read every one of them while we're not live streaming. When we're just, here at the house and we have some time, we will make sure that we take a look at everybody's comments, I promise. All right, let's look at a couple of other, while we're speaking of school and pandemic, the next story, college campuses preparing for online and in-person learning. They're going to wind up doing the same thing that probably public schools will do on the college level, and that is say, look, it's your option. Whether you want to come into the classroom or if you want to stay home and learn, we're going to give the option. Now, if you're expecting a price break between the two, that's not likely to happen according to most educators, because there is still the budget to be concerned about. And whether you're being taught online or whether you're being taught on campus, the bills still have to be paid. So many people are suggesting we may not see too many differences there. Also this morning, just want a heads up to you, Texas Rice Festival for the second year in a row has made the decision already that they will not be holding a rice festival. And this kind of goes hand in glove with the fact, this story, that the State Fair of Texas is canceled for the first time since World War II. The State Fair will not be held in Dallas. And I was going to look and see, because it just says World War II. I was going to see if it had an actual date. They've been going on for 134 years, the State Fair. I know Jillian was telling me this morning she was majorly disappointed because she's one of those people. She grew up in Dallas. It was just a part of what you do. You go to the State Fair, and she has been every year for years. But this year will not be one of those years, and she'll have to, I guess, get her corny dog fix someplace else this year. But we will miss the state fair. We'll miss a lot of things. But again, it doesn't have to fall into that place where how important is this in relation to the health of the people of the state of Texas? And that's certainly what the people who are running the state fair had to consider when they were making those decisions. All right, let's jump over. I want to show you the full screen numbers this morning. These are the latest numbers as best I could put them together this morning. Total number of new cases, 8-county area, looks like about 280, 3,510 total, 2,620 active, 844 have recovered, 51 deaths. And again, we are pretty maxed out, at least in Jefferson County, when it comes to ICU beds this morning. All right, let's go back and take some more comments this morning. Give me just a second here again to figure myself out and what I put up on the screen there. There we go. Magic, just like that. You have to understand, normally when I'm working and we're on the air on television, there's somebody else pushing all the buttons. When I'm at home, it's just me. So bear with me. And again, I think you probably, if you've watched any at all by now, you probably know what I'm talking about. Again, jump online if you will and post a comment. Just want to say hi. That's fine too. And don't forget, again, we always appreciate if you will hit the like button for us as we continue. And you want to see these continue, or if you want to see the at-home updates continue, that's a good way to let us know. Let's check on some of the comments that are coming in this morning. Teresa Carol Fisher says, I live with a risk all the time. I'm a volunteer firefighter. I salute you, Teresa, for taking the time and becoming involved in your community to the point that you volunteer as a firefighter. I admire you for doing that. I really do. I know a lot of volunteer fire people living here, working here for a long period of time, as you can imagine. I have known a whole lot of volunteer fire department folks, and every night when I hear the tones going off when I'm working, and it's people, I know somebody is at home asleep with their family, and they are being called out of bed to go and to help somebody else in their community, and they don't get paid a dime. You know, they're doing it because they want to protect their community and they want to give back. So, Teresa, in fact, I thank you for bringing that up. I took a quick break from home just to get away. It's recharging. Yeah, the question becomes, where do you go? You know, I'm with you. It's just that idea of getting out of the house. I've been in the house. I've been in either my house or the office for 4 months now. I want to be someplace else, if just for a couple of minutes. It would be nice, you know, just to be someplace else. Davida Puckett, good morning to you. Tammy Cromwell this morning. She said, great shout out to checking in on those alone or in need during all this on the morning show. Made me smile. Well, thank you, Tammy. It was just a reminder, and in case you missed it on the morning show, pretty much what we talked about here on the At Home Update yesterday. I just think, you know, we don't think about it. We get so caught up in our lives that we forget that there are people who are sitting at home, who are by themselves, who are lonely, who are scared, who are nervous. They're reading all this stuff, and they're being overwhelmed. You know, on the other end of the spectrum, there are people who are like, what are you talking about? No big deal. We're going to go out and live our lives. We're not worried about anything. But it should be incumbent upon us to know that there are people out there, and it's so easy just to offer them a couple of minutes of your time. You know, just pick up the phone, call and say, hey, are you okay? Or just talk to them for a couple of minutes. You know, sometimes I don't understand why we don't want to communicate with each other. It's like you're not going to catch anything talking to somebody on the phone. Christy Spurlock, good to see you this morning. Glad to hear things are good up there in Wildwood. B. Sims says, I love the painting. Thank you, B. Do you know what that, can you recognize what that is? I don't know if you can see it that well, but the painting over my shoulder is the Jefferson Theater in downtown Beaumont. I caught it right at sunrise, got a picture, did a digital painting of it. And yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate your noticing. It's one of those things that's always kind of interesting what people notice. Sue Fortner, good morning to you. Tamika Grant, good to have you up with us this morning. Chamita Waltz, good morning. Also up with us, Joanna Garza. Linda Stephen, how good is your day going? My day is going terrific. You know why, Linda? Two things have already happened. I've already turned in my timesheet at work, and I'm into my day with you. So that always makes it a little bit better. And I do appreciate your being with us this morning for sure. And I hope your day is going well too. Good morning. Have a great day. I'm sure going to try. Latoya Jones says, movement is life. Who did I hear saying that? Ringo Starr this morning. He celebrated his 80th birthday yesterday. Ringo Starr looks pretty doggone good for 80 years old, I think. And he said the same thing. He said, man, just move. Don't sit in the chair. Move. Eat, what did he say? Eat your fruit and veggies. And he said, I think movement is, you don't have to go exercise, you just have to move. Hi, Robert. Hope you're doing good this morning. Joseph, you as well. Susan Guidry, good morning. I am well. Hi, Dan. Also, let's see if we can find a couple of questions. Carlene Pardue says, I always buy my flood insurance in May just in case. Good idea. Because like I said, you got to have 30 days before anything happens. And you could even, submit a claim if something happened. Nina McCarver, good to see you this morning. Susan Guidry is up this morning as well. Tana Gray Mir says, well, if we could just shut down for 2 weeks and stay home, maybe we could send our kids back to school safely. I'm wondering, do you think that would work? Tana, obviously you think that it would, but I'm not sure mentally, as well as physically, not physically, but physically, like as in financially, how hard that would be on a lot of people. 2 more weeks of shutting things down. It sounds easy, but I'm not sure that would be the case. I don't know. It's a good question. It may come to it, be honest with you. If people's mindset doesn't change, and you don't see the curve come back a little bit, they may not have any choice. We've said from the beginning, the real issue is when you overwhelm the healthcare system. That's when you're going to have a problem. When suddenly you don't have any room for people who are having heart attacks, strokes, and elective surgery in a lot of places already out the window. And then how do hospitals make money? And you know where I'm going with this. All right, Tanya Hudnell says, good morning, Dan. I'm 68. All I do is wake up in the morning and make me some coffee, then feed my dogs, take them outside, and then bring them back in because my family won't let me go anyplace else. I'm sorry, Tanya. I really am. But I assume that your family is doing it thinking they're doing it for your protection, right? It's not because they're punishing you. It's not because they don't think you're responsible. It's because they don't want you to get sick. Maybe you should talk to your family. Maybe you should talk to them about this idea, and you can go and read more about this. There's a lot of articles out there about what we're calling bubbles these days and who you invite inside your bubble. So if you have people in your life that you feel confident, they're responsible, they're not out there putting themselves at risk, and again, remind yourself there's no such thing as being 100% safe or 100% risk-free of getting any virus or any illness, but you do the best that you can. And if these people do the best that they can, then maybe they become part of your bubble. And maybe, you can always get in the car and ride around. I see some people doing that. To me, I did that with my wife on Sunday. We both looked at each other and said, got to get out, cannot sit here any longer. And yes, we're the kind of people that we're outside in the yard, we're working in the yard, we'll come up with some project, even though we may not really want to do it, just because we can't imagine sitting there any longer. So we're going to get outside and do something. You can certainly do that. You're not restricted to staying inside your house. You can still go. You're just going to have to be smart about where you go and what you do. And again, remember, there's no 100% risk-free situation you can put yourself into. I guess short of locking yourself in some kind of airtight room, that would what would happen. Teresa Fisher this morning says, I think the kids need to go back to school. Gene Phillips echoes the same thing. Jeannie Foster says, too early to tell. Virus changes every day. Right now, it might be risky. Eleanor Luttrell. You know what I keep thinking about, though? I keep thinking about all those people that are working and they have kids, and what are they doing? I mean, summer's one thing, but to do it year round, how can you work and have a child and not, and them not being now you're the teacher, right? Jimmy Fields, good morning to you. Hi, Karen. Glad you're watching this morning as well. Drew says, Dan, they seriously need to lock down Beaumont. This is getting way out of hand. Don't allow school to resume. Drew, I think I understand your point of view. I really do. But short of untold numbers of people dying in hospitals, and when I say untold numbers, I'm not talking about 2 or 3 a week or even 2 or 3 a month, but short of really having tragic numbers, I just don't think that there's the stomach to shut down the economy, to shut down for people to stay at home. I don't think people are going to abide by it, even if you did it. Short of you, I don't know, coming up with strict enforcement. Drew Mormon, good morning to you, sir. Brittany Ernst asked, what is the status on mask wearing? Well, at this point, the governor's mandate is still in place. It has not gone down, and there is no timetable and or date for it to be lifted. So if you go out into public, you're expected to wear a mask. There is the potential of a fine, although at this point, part of the big argument we're having in our state is who's going to enforce this. Who's going to actually say, we're going to fine you $250 if you're not, doing it. Susan Gidry, it's scary. I don't know what to believe. I don't think school should start till it's way down. It's hard not to be with family because of all this. It is difficult, I'm sure, if you're doing that. Some families are not doing that. I mean, you have families that are like, are you kidding? They're still having and doing like nothing's happening. No school for my son, says B. Sims. Gotcha. And that, again, isn't that what we want really be, is for everybody to have the ability to make that decision for themselves, whether I feel comfortable sending my kid to school or if I want my kid to be homeschooled or if I want my kid to learn online. And obviously the TEA is trying very hard to try to do that. Jack Ishmael, good morning to you, sir. Also, Diane Smith, hope you're doing well. Patricia Ward says she's good. Invite her. Patricia asked, do you think if draft came back, our streets would be safer? I'm not sure that would be the case. Old Orange Hospital should be made open for beds. It's just sitting there. I think it would probably cost more at this point, Susan, to get it ready. But I'm sure there are surge plans in place all across the country. Every one of these hospitals, all of these hospital administrators, I assure you, have plans in place should they reach max capacity. Already heard the Southeast Texas Regional Planning Group with hospitals saying, hey, look, do not, under any circumstances, think because you're hearing that ICU beds are reaching their max numbers and max capacity, that you shouldn't come here if there's a reason to be here. If you have need for a hospital, you come because, we'll find a place. We have ways to get people in. Does that change moving forward is the question. Rhonda Champagne, video charts are wonderful. I've done that to keep in touch. Okay, sorry, Rhonda. I'm trying to read, but apparently should put my glasses back on. Diana says we need to need the kids to go back to school. So again, there's a totally different point of view. Also, one more this morning. Remember Nina from yesterday, Nina McCarver, who says, Dan, I lost my husband recently. I'm here by myself. It's a little bit lonely during all this going on. And I'm a little bit scared about the idea of going out. Nina comes back with us this morning. I appreciate this, Dan. Made a friend on here, and it helps when you're a senior citizen. Again, that's what the community is here for. This community that we've created on Facebook, we should be able to reach out and help each other. That's what I've always admired so much about this area and this place in which we live. We've been through a lot. I mean, if you go back over the course of 30 years, 40 years, I can go all the way back to times when, planned explosions seemed like it was something that happened once a month. I know we had one in November, but it seemed like we had one back in the 70s. Almost every month there was some kind of an incident in a plant and people would come together. Tornado, hurricane, flooding, people came together. Have we moved beyond that now to the point that, we can't help each other? I don't think so. I think somebody just needs to be prompted every once in a while. I think we need to be reminded, because we fill our lives with so many things that it's hard to remember. Oh, yeah, I do have 15 minutes that I can make a phone call and just check on somebody. Sure, you can. You could also volunteer for Meals on Wheels. You could also volunteer at the food bank. You wear a mask. You take extra precaution. And if you're at a certain age, it's that much easier, right? It's one thing if you're 65. It's another thing if you're 45 to get out and do those things. All right. We have been trying to end the day with something other than everything COVID related, right? So I want to point you, though, because I always like to remind you, there are places that you can go and things that you can go and see. So I wanted to point you back to the Texas Tribune. It's texastribune.org. They do a great job of making sure that they cover all of Texas. This is a good story, as we were just talking about, mask mandatory in many Texas schools. So if you want to go read that one. All right, so for a lighter note to end it today, here's something I think that a lot of people are going to like. Houston Chronicle today, byline Allison Medley, DPS now providing Saturday appointments to renew license among the pandemic. So if you're like, I've had enough, sorry, I think I just hit the wrong button there. And I did, and now I'm not sure I can get it back. But anyway, if I'm not sure, maybe the best way is just to go back up to the top here. And let me do that. There we go. So there you go. There's, again, the story concerning the driver's licenses. Texas drivers can now schedule an in-person appointment for license renewals or replacements, including Saturday. DPS announcing on Tuesday it's expanding an in-person across the state. Department continues to reopen driver's license offices so you can check and get your availability. 700,000 Texans whose cards expired during the pandemic. Wow. All right. So there shouldn't be any reason you shouldn't be able to get it done. And I hope you can. All right. Again, thank you for bearing with me this morning. I appreciate it. Again, trying some new technology this morning, and we'll continue to tweak it and try to make it better and give you the opportunity. It gives me the opportunity to do a lot of different things. Like, for example, I can show you this, that you can join us, of course, on Facebook at KFDM News for our at-home updates. You can also check us out on YouTube at Dan's at Home. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Morning TV Dan. And we'll continue to update. You always want to end too. The reminder, KFDM is on top of things. We always want to give you the latest information. We will update KFDM.com every moment that we can, so you can go there and check out what's happening. It's the black screen of death. No, it's just me not being able to get it to come back to where I need it to be. But anyway, KFDM.com. You can always check out what's happening there 24 hours a day. Also, of course, don't forget, noon today, Tan Radford, Dana Malasaw will get you up to speed on KFDM and KFDM. And then coming up live at 5, then we have 5:30 on KBTV Fox 4. Then we'll go back to 6 o'clock on KFDM, 9 and 10. Who would have thunk it all those years ago? When I started in television back in the 70s, it was like a 30-minute show. That was anybody who did an hour-long television show, that was mind-blowing. Networks didn't do an hour. And now local television stations like ours are doing 4.5 hours of live television every weekday morning. 4.5 hours. I know, times have changed. All right, again, I appreciate you. Know that I do, right? And go out and make it a terrific day, but stay safe. Do what you feel comfortable doing. And we will look forward to seeing you back here bright and early tomorrow morning on KFDM. And of course, back here about 9, we'll try to do 9:30 tomorrow, probably. Try to squeeze it into our day from our house to yours. Again, look forward to it. Hope it goes out. Hope it becomes a great day for you. Lots of sunshine. The other thing, stay cool today. All right. Again, enjoy your day. Thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it.